So I'm on my 25th month sober now. Let's carry on from where I left off yesterday. And first things first, I gotta apologize again for being a little bit slow in what I have to say, but it's deep. It's always deep when you get into these sorts of matters about why somebody quits drinking. And the story that I had yesterday, I linked in the description below so that you can get up to speed where I'm at. And let me continue from where I left off from yesterday with one of the reasons why I stopped drinking was that it was killing my friends. And they had died as a direct result of alcohol and liver cirrhosis. And even though they know they're going to die, they won't stop drinking. And there's nothing that I can do. And that's the big problem, I guess, the big issue. The one I can't easily avoid or walk away from is that they're going to die unless they stop drinking. It's really that simple. And they know this because their friends have died, my friends have died from drinking. So there's no big mystery here about where things are leading. You either stop drinking or you don't. And if you don't, then the probability of you meeting a rather sorry end increases dramatically. So even though my friends are passing away, I was actually still drinking. So even though one of my friends had died in a very shocking way, it obviously wasn't shocking enough to make me quit there and then. But what it was shocking enough to do is to plant the seeds of quitting drinking. And therein is where it all starts. So the seed is planted and I'm still drinking, but that seed is germinating about stopping. And this is well after lockdown. And I turn up to the bar one day, and somebody that I know, I wouldn't call them a pub friend, just somebody I know from the pub, has been in a really, really horrific accident, I think, yeah. So, what's the horrific accident? He fell asleep on the road. And along came a bus and dragged him for 50 or 100 meters and punctured a lot of his organs, and he was put into an induced coma and lost one of his legs. He survived and is now in a wheelchair, but I have not seen him since. And the reason why I have not seen him since is because I don't go drinking anymore. So if the seeds of not drinking were germinating, well, that was the growth booster to really make me think about quitting. So here's the thing, this guy, he didn't come across as needing a drink, but he obviously drank quite a bit, and that was reflected in his size. He was a big guy, small guy, but a big guy. And so he had a job, and so the first thing I asked when I heard this had happened to my friend, the first thing I asked was, in the bar, I asked, "So what on earth did you give this guy? Were you giving him like under the counter homebrewed liquor or what?" And the answer was no, he had drank beers. He drank a lot of beers. He drank a lot of beers and was drunk and decided to walk home, and on his way decided he'd go for a nap in the middle of the road. My God, right? So, yeah. So you hear those stories, right? About sleeping in strange places. Sleeping in the middle of the road. Oof. When you do that, you must have been far gone long ago. You obviously drank more than you could handle. But you obviously didn't think that you would be so inebriated as to go to sleep in the middle of the road. And obviously wherever he had decided to go to sleep in the middle of the road was at an area where a well-trained bus driver couldn't even see him. I mean, if you're in a bus and you're a bus driver, you're kind of paying attention a little more than most to the world around you because you've got passengers. Granted, it was nighttime, but still, you know, the fact it happened at all is absolutely terrifying, let alone to somebody I knew. Oh my God. Right? So there's that. And now a bit about quitting and what's that like when you quit. And I guess one of these days I can talk a little more about how I quit and how I did that. But for now, I think the story of the man who fell asleep on the road and got run over by a bus is deep enough to give you an idea of what I'm going through at the moment, even 2 years later, on top of everything else that's happened. So what's going on is a series of calamities, some fatal and others dismembering, having to do with alcohol. And these are the kind of stories that you would expect from a war zone or the battlefield, you know? Not down the road where you go for a pint with your friends. Here's the real crazy part in all of that, okay? This is another shocker, is that despite that happening, I have friends who still drink and get themselves into a condition where that could, in theory, happen to them. They're still drinking. So those warning signs were insufficient to make them want to change. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you something that in order to change, you gotta want to actually change. That no amount of these things happening will actually cause you to change. They're not a causal mechanism, you know, that you have like cause and effect. that you hear a story and you stop. No. Internally, you've got to make the adjustment to stop. You got to tell yourself, I want to stop. I don't want to drink anymore. And it's only by making that internal shift yourself that these things that you start to learn, see or hear about have an accumulative effect. So the decision to quit has to be there, because they obviously haven't made the decision to quit. If you ask them, they're probably going to go, nah, I don't want to quit. This is my life, I enjoy it. Go to work, make a little money, take that money, go drinking, have a laugh. Except it's not always a laugh, and that's another topic. 25 months sober now, 25 months, no drink, no alcohol. And it's a day by day thing. You take every day, one step at a time. Maybe you get a day that's a little easier than another. Some days, some things happen. You gotta remember that that demon is a boxer. And when you underestimate it, then it whacks you hard like Mike Tyson. You don't even know you've been hit, you're down. Let's just hope that if you ever go down like that, it's not onto a main road with a bus coming around the corner.